Are you a fan of horror films like It Follows? Then I think I have a good recommendation for you. Now, in Come True, we follow Sarah. She gets a job participating in a sleep study. But as the study progresses, her nightmares start to get a little bit more intense as we start to descend into her mind and the chaos that comes out of it. Now, I actually had the privilege of watching Come True a couple of months ago at the Nightstream Film Festival. But the second that it was over, I knew I was going to have to rewatch this to process some thoughts before I did a review. And since it's officially out, I bit the bullet. I rented it again. Now I have a concrete review for you and my thoughts. Look, I feel like this review might be slightly long-winded, so let me go ahead and address some things, okay? I highly recommend this movie. It's ambitious, it's unique, it's got an aesthetic that is just very hypnotic, and you really haven't seen anything quite like it here recently. And it really shows a lot of promise to the director, Anthony Scott Burns, for the future. I will say, though, the issues with the film I might spend a little bit more time on because I find the issues a little bit more fascinating than the pros. But that doesn't mean that I don't recommend this movie. In fact, I highly recommend this movie. I just feel like the one major problem with this movie almost self-destructs it, but not for me. But regardless, I feel like if you're a horror fan, you're going to want to watch this movie because it's a fascinating dive. Let's go ahead and get at the positives. This is an ambitious as hell movie, and I love any movie that is ambitious and tries to do something singular and unique and something that it's of its own and doesn't feel like a retrend of other movies. And while this movie reminded me of It Follows, it still felt like its own singular thing. And I really, really love that. I myself suffer from falling asleep and having issues sleeping. The fact that this movie explores that stuff, I also just found very interesting. The main girl, her sort of coming of age that is happening while this movie progresses is very good. The actress does a fantastic job. I just love the atmosphere and aesthetic that this movie has. The cinematography is gorgeous. It has this sort of light blue, neon, dreamlike quality, and just with the cinematography and direction, that movie similar to It Follows has. Now, the score is done by Electrical Youth. You've definitely heard of Real Hero, that song from Drive. Yep, they did the music for this, and it's fantastic. And when I say fantastic, I mean, like, I want this score on vinyl because I think it's just phenomenal. First hour of this movie, I was glued in. I was absorbed. I was with this movie, uncovering it, creeped out, just completely impressed by the whole presentation of it. Unfortunately, it's a movie that's overly ambitious, and a lot of its concepts, a lot of its ideas, a lot of its things that it throws at you doesn't necessarily get resolved in a satisfying way. And I feel like I would have been a little bit okay with that if it wasn't for the last 30 seconds. Last 30 seconds of this movie are not good. It kind of wants to have a last minute twist on you. And in my opinion, it wants to add some thematical weight to the movie. And I've listened to interviews and read interviews with the director. I think the concept is there. Unfortunately, I just don't think the execution was there at all, and I think it just misses the mark. It wants to be one of those movies where it pulls the rug underneath you, but unfortunately, if you're going to do that magic trick, you kind of do have to show us a little bit of the rug so that we know that it's there, and I just didn't feel like the film did that enough. The last 30 seconds felt like an extreme reach. I just couldn't get on board with it. It's an admirable effort. I like where he was going with, and I wish it would have worked. I truly, truly do wish it would have worked, because if it had worked, I think this would have made this movie like legendary. And I do think that this movie can have a little bit of a cult following, because this is the type of film that I see if it was to get put on a streaming platform, whether it be Shudder or even Netflix, it might trend. It might get a lot of attention. And look, I would much rather have an overly ambitious horror film that doesn't satisfy in the end than something that's dry, been there, done that, and it ultimately just feels like white noise by the end of the day. And I never felt that with Come True. Now, while I haven't really seen much of this director's work, I am very interested to see where he's go, because he feels like one of those directors that definitely knows how to make a good movie and definitely has skills. He just hasn't had the right project yet. But when the right project comes, it's going to be legendary. And we're going to be like, y'all, it was always there. Overall, Come True is a hypnotic, spooky descent into nightmares. It's ambitious as hell, and while it doesn't completely satisfy you in its ambitions, the journey is definitely worth taking. All laced with an absolutely killer score by Electric Youth. While the last 30 seconds of the movie tries to almost self-destruct the film, I think that there's such craftsmanship leading up to it that it's definitely a hallucinogenic nightmare worth taking. As the score goes, I'm going to give Come True a 3.5 out of 5. I was so ready to give this movie a 4 or even higher while watching it, but like I said, those last 30 seconds, take them out. I definitely think this is a horror film that is unique and different, and I love to talk about it. So if you've seen it, let me know in the comment section below. And until next time, I'm the Slash Movier, and you guys have just been slashed.